Good morning and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV this Saturday morning. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Africa visit is our top focus. Modi arrived in Durban early this morning, where he will retrace Mahatma Gandhi's train journey. We'll get you all the details on that. Also, all the updates from Srinagar, where curfew has been imposed. Amarnath Yatra has been suspended after Hizbul commander Burhan Wani's encounter. All the details on that as well. Let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister pitches for South African businessmen to invest in India, says it's a bright spot in the global economy. Says aim is to suppress 8% growth figures. Big breakthrough for forces in the decade of fight against militancy. 21-year-old poster boy of Hizbul Mujahideen Burhan Wani killed in encounter. Protests aroused this valley. Curfew imposed in many places. Heavy rains continue to lash Madhya Pradesh, and Assam Army pressed into service in Madhya Pradesh to rescue those stranded. Several relief camps set up. US President Barack Obama cuts short his Europe trip amid simmering racial tensions. 5 police officers killed by sniper in protest against killing of black men by police. And Roger Federer crashes out of Wimbledon men's singles. Andy Murray books final spot with win over Thomas Berdych. Women's final to see Serena and Kerber lock horns today. Well, the big story this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the second day of his engagements in South Africa today will undertake a train journey to Pietermaritzburg station in memory of the 1893 incident in which Mahatma Gandhi was thrown out of a train compartment because of his skin color. Earlier on Friday, Prime Minister Modi made a strong pitch to the South African businessmen to invest in India. He also held bilateral talks with the South African President Jacob Zuma in Pretoria, after which 4 MOUs were signed between the two nations.
On the second leg of his 4-nation Africa tour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanked South Africa for its support to India's NSG membership. Modi said India was fortunate to be able to count on old friends like South Africa.
I thank the President for South Africa's support to India's membership of the Nuclear Suppliers Group. We know that we count on the active support of our friends like South Africa.
Addressing a joint press conference with South African President Jacob Zuma, Modi hailed the centuries-old ties between the two countries. He said there was also a need to focus on improving industry-to-industry ties and human capital.
The nature of our developing economies demands that our engagement should also focus on improving our human capital. Our capacities and needs in the fields of vocational, technical and professional education complement each other and can benefit both our people. India is also ready to share its experiences and capacities for the development of small and medium businesses in South Africa.
The South African president also agreed to expand people-to-people contact between the two countries while announcing simplifying the visa regime with India.
We have agreed to expand and improve people-to-people contact through promoting tourism between the two countries. We would like to ensure the Indian side that South Africa is a wonderful tourism destination and that a simplification of South Africa's visa regime with India is underway.
India and South Africa signed 4 MOUs on tourism, cooperation in culture and arts, grassroots innovation and information and communication technology. In addition, the leaders also agreed to work more closely on international issues and emerging global challenges. Modi also marketed India as an investment destination to South African businessmen in his address at the India-South Africa business meet in Pretoria.
India is a bright star in the global economy. We are being seen as the engine of global growth. India has become the fastest growing large economy in the world. At a time of global slowdown, we have registered 7.6% growth on GDP.
Later, he visited the Constitutional Hill, the site of South Africa's highest constitutional court, and paid floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. He also visited the Nelson Mandela Foundation in Johannesburg, where he interacted with the heroes of the South African anti-apartheid struggle. Modi ended his day with an address to the Indian diaspora in Johannesburg. Modi said India is working to achieve over 8% growth in the coming years and attributed the rise of the country to hope, harmony, optimism, potential and energy.
India today is also a land of opportunity for those who want to connect and collaborate, innovate and create, trade and invest, produce and engineer. India is today one of the brightest spots in the global economy.
Modi will be in Durban today, where he will visit Gandhi's Phoenix Ashram and meet leaders of the African National Congress. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, back home, security has been beefed up and curfew imposed in the Kashmir Valley after 21-year-old poster boy of Hizbul Mujahideen, Burhan Wani, was gunned down by police and army officials on Friday. Now, the killing is being seen as a big win for the security forces. In one of the biggest breakthroughs in a decade for security forces, 21-year-old poster boy of Hizbul Mujahideen, Burhan Wani, was killed in an encounter 83 kilometers from Srinagar on Friday. Wani was shot dead along with two of his accomplices after a joint team of police and army launched a search operation on the basis of intelligence inputs about the presence of militants in the area.
Burhan Wani had become the poster boy for terrorism in Kashmir. Eliminating him means that a major impetus for gathering terrorists in Kashmir is gone. So I think it's a major achievement for the army and Jammu and Kashmir police. And I think it'll go a long way in curbing terrorism within the valley.
Curfew was imposed and internet services suspended after news of Wani's death triggered protests across the valley. Several separatist leaders were placed under house arrest over fear of law and order situation. Amarnath Yatra was also suspended indefinitely on Friday in anticipation of protests. Pro-Pakistan Hurriyat leader Syed Ali Shah Gilani has given a call for Bandh today. Former Chief Minister Omar Abdullah tweeted that the news of the killing is big news, but also warned of tense days ahead. A resident of Tral, Burhan carried a cash reward of 10 lakh rupees on his head. He introduced a new wave of tech-savvy militants who used social media platform to find recruits and influence Kashmiri youths to militancy. Burhan had joined the militant outfit Hizbul Mujahideen in 2010 when he was just 15 years of age. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Well, on to some other news, and the Supreme Court has said that a distinction must be drawn between this right of self-defense and retaliation, and has directed a thorough probe into the alleged fake encounter killings in Manipur. The court also said that the army or the paramilitary forces cannot use excessive or retaliatory force, even in areas under the controversial Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Now, while dealing with the PIL, which complained of 1,528 extrajudicial killings in the state from 2000 to 2012 by security forces and police, and observing that the situation in Manipur has never been one of war, the court said that killing citizens on suspicion that they are the enemy gravely endangers democracy. The bench also referred to an earlier verdict which cautioned against the use of retaliatory force, even against a dreaded criminal. Let's move on in the bulletin. Well, the centre is probing the source of funding of controversial Islamic preacher Zakir Naiks NGO. Now, the move comes after reports that his speeches allegedly inspired one of the Dhaka attackers. The centre has also said that it will crack the whip of cable operators for airing unlicensed channels after the spotlight on Naiks channel Peace TV.
The Islamic Research Foundation, or IRF, run by controversial Islamic preacher Zakir Naik, has come under the scanner of the Home Ministry. The centre is now probing the foreign funding of the NGO run by Naik, whose speeches allegedly inspired one of the Dhaka attackers. This probe is apart from the scrutiny of Naik's speeches. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh said there won't be any compromise on the issue of terrorism.
जाकिर नाइक की पेशेस का हम लोगों ने कागज़ लिया है और इस संबंध में आवश्यक निर्देश जारी किए गए हैं। उनकी स्पीचेज और उनकी जो सीडीज़ हैं उनकी स्पीचेज को प्रॉपर्ली एग्जामिन किया जा रहा है। जो जस्टिफाइड होगा वह किया जाएगा और इतना मैं आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि जहां तक भारत सरकार का प्रश्न है, टेररिज्म से किसी भी सूरत में हम लोग कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं करेंगे।
Apart from that, the centre has also cracked the whip on telecast of unauthorized channels amid the escalating controversy of Naiks Peace TV. The centre has warned cable operators of action if norms are violated by telecasting channels that are not licensed. On Thursday, Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis ordered a probe into Naik's speeches. The Mumbai police was told to scrutinize the 50-year-old doctor turned Islamic preacher's social media accounts and sources of funding of his foundation. The Mumbai police has formed a special team to conduct a probe and may question people associated with Naik. The police is yet to get in touch with Naik, who is in Saudi Arabia and will return on July 11. The Bangladesh government has launched an investigation into Naik's style of preaching Islam and has urged the Indian government to do the same. Naik, who is in Mecca, has denied making any such speech that urged Muslims to become terrorists. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Well, just 3 days after the alleged suicide of a deputy superintendent of police in Karnataka's Belagavi town, another senior-ranking police officer has now ended his life in the Kodagu district. Deputy Superintendent of Police M.K. Ganapati, who was posted at the IG's office in Mangaluru, hanged himself in a lodge but left behind a note in which he alleged a harassment. Now, Karnataka Chief Minister S. Siddaramaiah on Friday said that a CID inquiry has been ordered into the alleged suicide of the deputy superintendent, who was allegedly facing harassment from his seniors and an influential politician. Meanwhile, several members of the BJP took to streets to protest against the Karnataka government. They sought resignation of State Minister K.J. George regarding the suicide of the two officers.
I will demand Chief Minister to take resignation of George and put him take necessary action according to Criminal Procedure Code and keep law and order situation most important. If not, everything will be collapsed.
And in News at 10, we'll take a very short break here. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
The splendid, grand and massive neo-Buddhist copper dome of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It gets its influence from stupa at Sanchi. The dome is more than twice the height of the rest of the building. The reinforced concrete shell of the outer dome began to be formed during the beginning of 1929. The last stone of the dome was laid on April 6, 1929.
Welcome back. Let's get you the weather update. And rains continue to wreak havoc in Madhya Pradesh and Assam. Now, many parts of the states have been inundated and the army is doing rescue operations. Meanwhile, in North India, Ken and Sharda rivers in Uttar Pradesh are also flowing above the danger mark.
Many parts of Madhya Pradesh remain inundated as rains continue to lash the state. The state government pressed in helicopters into service to help flood-hit people in Rewa and Satna districts. While 5 youths are missing after they were swept away in the Tamas River, 7 have been rescued. The state government has asked schools in Rewa and Satna to be closed. With the army helping in relief operations, around 1,200 people affected by flood have been set up in 5 camps. The Met Department has predicted that very heavy rain in several parts of the state could continue.
2 दिन और भारी बारिश की चेतावनी दी गई है और भोपाल संभाग में भी, सतना में भी आसपास भारी बारिश की चेतावनी चूंकि है, इसलिए हम स्थिति पर नज़र रखे हुए हैं, लेकिन जैसी आवश्यकता होगी वैसी व्यवस्था की जाएगी और पूरी तरह से हम लोग इन परिस्थितियों से निपट लेंगे.
In Assam, flash floods triggered by heavy rainfall crippled life in nearly 20 villages in Jorhat district. The water also caused huge losses, with fields flooding, damaging standing crops.
সময়ত পানীটো আহিছে আসলে হেতু সময়ত কোনো মানুহ সজাগ হোৱা নাছিল সেই কাৰণে আমাৰ বহুত ক্ষতি হৈছে গৰু ছাগলী হাঁহ পাৰ ভৰালৰ ধানৰ পৰ্যন্ত পানী তলত ডুব গৈছে মানুহৰ ঘৰৰ ভিতৰৰ বস্তু লোকসান হৈছে.
The State Disaster Response Force and police have been deployed to carry out rescue operations. Around 23 relief camps and distribution centers have been set up in flood-affected districts. 8 districts in the state are currently flooded with waters of the Brahmaputra and its tributaries flowing above danger level. More than 1 lakh people have been affected by floods this monsoon. Elsewhere in North India, heavy rains continue to affect normal life. In UP, at least 2 rivers, Ken and Sharda, are flowing above danger levels. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now take a look at the events lined up for the day in the day ahead. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi will today address the Maharashtra Congress leaders. In a bid to stem rebellion in different states, Rahul Gandhi is aiming to bring warring party leaders on one platform. After Maharashtra, he is likely to meet party colleagues from Tamil Nadu. After addressing the recently held Jan Swabhiman rally of Anupriya Patel-led Apna Dal in Varanasi, the BJP President Amit Shah will today attend the Ati Pichhda and Ati Dalit Mahapanchayat of Suhail Dev Bharatiya Samaj Party in Mao. Now, a formal announcement for the BJP-SB-SP alliance will be made. The SB-SP wants to contest at least 22 seats in alliance with the BJP. With an eye on the assembly elections, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal will visit Gujarat's Saurashtra region to highlight the agrarian crisis there. After reaching Rajkot airport, he will visit the Somnath temple. Later, he will meet the farmers of Saurashtra, Keshod, Junagadh and Chetalsar towns, which have been witnessing severe agrarian crisis due to the uncertainty of rains. Let's now get to the big international story, and racial tensions are simmering in the United States after 5 police officers were shot dead in Dallas during a protest against police violence on Thursday night. Now, the lone shooter who was killed later in the gunfight had wanted to kill white police officers because he was angry about the recent shootings of black men by the police. The US president has condemned what he called was a vicious, calculated and despicable attacks on Dallas police.
LA is not about violence, that the police department in LA is not about violence, that these entertainment moguls that stand with me here, who represent a huge swath of Los Angeles, are not about violence.
We're all angry for different reasons. It's how you channel your anger. And to me, as an individual today, I chose to channel my anger positively, and this is what the outcome is.
Desperate pleas for unity and calm reverberating around the United States. This after 5 police officers were killed and 7 injured when at least one sniper opened fire on a peaceful protest in Dallas, telling police he wanted to kill white officers. The suspect, 25-year-old Mika Johnson, died after a long standoff with police. He was an army reservist who served in Afghanistan. Bomb-making material, rifles, ammunition and a combat journal have been found at his home.
At this time, there appears to have been one gunman with no known links to or inspiration from any international terrorist organization. One Dallas area rapid transit officer has been killed. 4 Dallas police officers have been killed.
The gunfire broke out on Thursday evening as the demonstrators marched through the city. They were protesting against the police killings of 2 black men earlier in the week. There was panic as people scrambled for cover. Police described the ambush as carefully planned and executed. President Barack Obama has cut short his Europe visit and will be traveling to Dallas next week.
Even as yesterday I spoke about our need to be concerned as all Americans about racial disparities in our criminal justice system, I also said yesterday that our police have an extraordinarily difficult job. We also know that when people are armed with powerful weapons, unfortunately, it makes attacks like these more deadly and more tragic.
The shooting threatens to plunge the already fraught discussion over race and policing in America to new depths of discord. It has also led to renewed calls for national guidelines about the use of force by police and gun laws.
Now, I have set forth plans for over a year to reduce excessive violence, reform our sentencing laws, support police departments that are doing things right, make it harder for the wrong people to get their hands on guns.
Killing of two black men last week, that of Alton Sterling in Louisiana and Philando Castile in Minnesota, both captured on graphic cell phone video, have prompted protests around the U.S., including the march in Dallas. It has reignited racial tensions with national argument about police conduct in America. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And severe floods in central and southern China continue to affect thousands of people while Super Typhoon Naiks swept through Taiwan on Friday, causing flooding and streets across the mountainous east coast. Now, torrential rains and floods across the southern half of China have besieged cities and towns for days. Nearly 200 people have died in drownings, landslides, and as buildings have collapsed, including 35 buried by a landslide in the far west. Nearly 2 million people have been moved to safer ground where swollen rivers and lakes are not there. Now, 1 death and 66 injuries were also reported due to Typhoon Naiks, which left Taiwan's western coast earlier on Friday, causing flooding and strong winds in the southern part. As many as 15,400 people were evacuated from their homes in preparation for the storm, while more than 1 lakh households suffered power outages as well. Now, bullet train services have been suspended and more than 300 international and 254 domestic flights have been cancelled. The typhoon, which has been labelled a Category 5 storm, is now expected to cross over the Taiwan Strait and hit China on Saturday.
整个铁皮我们这边4户，整个铁皮通通掀掉了，前面后面通通掀掉，里面掀掉以后，它那个水全部灌进去，都在里面屋里面。 没有办法睡，吓死了。从昨天晚上1点开始。
Let's get you some more international news now in World Wrap. The United States has expelled 2 Russian diplomats in response to an attack on an American diplomat in Moscow. The 2 officials were told to leave on 17th of June. The action comes after earlier that month a Russian policeman attacked the U.S. diplomat near the U.S. embassy in Moscow. However, Russia says the diplomat worked for the CIA and had refused to show his ID papers. The US has announced that it will deploy 1,000 troops to Poland as part of NATO's efforts to reassure former communist Eastern member states fearful of a more assertive Russia. Now, Britain said earlier this week that it will commit 650 troops to a separate battalion, and fellow NATO allies Germany and Canada have also pledged to stand up their own units. The troops would be placed sometime next year. The US and South Korea have agreed to deploy a controversial missile defense system in the wake of threat from North Korea. Now, the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD, anti-missile system will be deployed to a counter threat from Pyongyang. However, China has consistently opposed the plan, and it has lodged a protest now with the US and South Korean envoys. At least 25 civilians were killed and 120 others wounded on Friday in rebel shelling of regime-held districts of Syria's Aleppo. The shelling continued despite a 72-hour nationwide ceasefire announced by the army to mark the end of holy month of Ramadan. The fighting has continued since the truce was announced on Wednesday, particularly in and around Aleppo, where deaths on both sides of the city continue. On to some sporting action news from Wimbledon. Well, Roger Federer's hopes of ending his 4-year major drought and winning his 18th Grand Slam title ended in a heartbreak on Friday after Canadian Milos Raonic edged over a historic win over the 7-time Wimbledon champion 6-3, 6-7, 4-6, 7-5, 6-3. Now 25-year-old succeeds Raonic is the first Canadian to reach a Grand Slam singles final and has now set up a final showdown with local favourite Andy Murray. Earlier, second-seeded Andy Murray dispatched number 10 Thomas Berdych in straight sets 6-3, 6-3, 6-3 in less than 2 hours. And in the women's final, 6-time champion Serena Williams will take on 4th-seeded German Angelique Kerber today. Serena thrashed Russia's Elena Vesnina in 48 minutes in the semi-final, while Angelique Kerber defeated Serena's sister Venus Williams in straight sets. Serena is now just 1 win away from her record equaling 22 Grand Slam titles. Kerber, however, would be looking to win her first Wimbledon title after beating Serena Williams in the Australian Open, which was her first Grand Slam victory. More sporting action now in Sports Beat. Czech Republic goalkeeper Petr Cech has announced his international retirement on Friday, saying that he wants to fully focus on his Arsenal club. Cech represented his nation at 3 Euros and a World Cup. He holds a record of 121 caps for his country and the most clean sheets in the Premier League. Lewis Hamilton thrashed the Mercedes Formula One teammate Nico Rosberg to top spot in the first practice for the British Grand Prix. Rosberg, the World Championship leader, failed to do a single lap as his car suffered a water leak. The Olympic torch completed another week of its scenic tour through Brazil. 12,000 people in 335 Brazilian cities are expected to carry the torch before the 5th of August opening ceremony in Rio de Janeiro. Before finally making it to Rio for the start of the Games, the torch will cross a total of 20,000 kilometers of the Brazilian territory. Ferrari have resigned Kimi Raikkonen as the teammate to Sebastian Vettel for the 2017 Formula One season. Raikkonen's future had been in doubt as the team considered whether he had done enough to earn a 4th consecutive season with the team. It will be a 7th year at the Ferrari for the Finn, who won their last driver's title in 2007. That's all in this edition of news. Thanks so much for watching.